You are listening to episode 58 on Back to Here with Sarita, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast. Today's episode goes deep into multiple themes that will support you on your life purpose. And before you start getting into a lot of story about what life purpose is, I want to assure you that this episode will support you in wherever you are in your life journey. My guest, Vanessa Soul, brings together astrology and human design in this really cool blend that will help you integrate parts of your uniqueness into creating a more purpose-driven life. Vanessa Soul is a soul purpose and career guide, and Vanessa's life purpose is helping humanity increase the quality of their lives and purpose mastery during and after AI transition. Whether you are defining your career, seeking deeper fulfillment, or ready to embrace your soul's calling, Vanessa will help you create a legacy of purpose, alignment, and limited potential through astrology and human design guidance. Get your pen and paper because this episode is loaded with strategy that will help you in connecting with your most authentic self. Let's jump in. Hey there, I'm Sarita, and you're about to experience the modern approach to well-being where you get to establish the best and most important relationship you will ever have, the one with yourself. I'm on a mission to help you declutter energy and reclaim your power so you can be a magnet to what you desire. If you're looking for the optimal blend of mindset and healing, you're in the right place. My goal in this podcast is to share tools, resources, and practices that will help you along your healing journey. I'm so excited to be here with you today, so welcome to Back to Here with Sarita. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Back to Here with Sarita, the new Manifesting Paradigm podcast. I am very, very stoked to talk to my amazing, beautiful guest today because we're going to be getting into some things that I'm super passionate about, things like human design, our life purpose, also astrology as well. So very excited here. Vanessa Soul is here with me today. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for being here on this podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have a chat with you today.
So we were actually going through a little bit of tech issues. So I appreciate Vanessa's patience in all this. And so the audio might be a little bit different. The setup might be a little bit different for YouTubers that are watching this. So just in advance, apologies about that. But it will still be an amazing, amazing episode that will be talking about some really like great stuff that will support you in your life purpose. So Vanessa, I know that when some people hear life purpose, they probably get super overwhelmed with like, what does that mean? When it comes to manifestation, one of the first things that I ask people is like, what is their vision? Like, what is it they're trying to manifest? And that's my first step is like having clarity in that. When it comes to a lot of times when someone asks you, like, what is it that you want? It's like so hard to narrow it down. It's so hard to chunk it down. When someone is hearing the word life purpose, what is it, what is it in your words, and how can people feel a little less like overwhelmed with that phrase?
Yeah, what a great question. Because you're right. We either get overwhelmed by it or because it just seems like so vague and like so elusive. It's like, do I have to pick one? Or like, like what? Like I'm barely trying to get through like my month. What's going on? So yeah, it's a good thing to really reflect on. Like what is our life purpose? And it's really a collection of 8 different themes. So I believe there's a little bit of a misunderstanding. Like sometimes we think it's just one thing, like, oh, I'm a doctor, I'm a healer, I'm meant to help people with their health, and that's it. Or some people are like, oh, I'm a family person. I only want to work, I just want to take care of my family. I just want to be a stay at home mom or like whatever the thing is. And that can totally be a very powerful piece because we have 8 different themes. But when we expand our definition of life purpose and we realize that, okay, it's not just one thing, it's 8 different themes that all overlap, they all collaborate, and then they create this grand vision, this grand life theme that can still change over time. It doesn't have to be stagnant, but at least it does a better job at encompassing all of who we are and all of who we are becoming.
That's so great because that would, I know, support me, and I'm sure people that are listening and watching this episode are probably like thinking like, how do I narrow down certain aspects of my life to make things a little bit more digestible for myself, because it can be in a state of overwhelm. And we know from overwhelm, oftentimes when somebody, I know for myself, I always use this example when I go into like a Ross or like one of those stores where there's like so many options for clothing. It gets so like I feel constricted, and I get anxiety because I'm like, there's so much to choose from. I don't know what to do, right? So that's why I like going to boutiques, because you have like you can like pick and choose. It's a little bit more spread out. It's aesthetically more appealing. So, chunk things down. So what are some misconceptions that somebody can have when it comes to life purpose? Because we are trained from a young age, no matter kind of what age you are at this point, at least in American standards, and even in like other countries. I'm just thinking about around the globe, some of my friends who've grown up internationally, like they have a path set out for them. Like their parents will say, like, this is what you're aiming to become, right? Like it usually has been like the doctor, the lawyer, or some kind of corporate, right? And so people feel like their career ends up being like their life purpose, or even things that they dabble in a little bit on the side ends up being like a portion of their life purpose. So, what are some, to me, that's a big misconception, I would think, but what are some other misconceptions that somebody could have around life purpose?
Well, one misconception is that they can think like it's just their life purpose is what they're good at. Like
Mm,
because they're
yeah,
good at being a lawyer or because they're good at doing XYZ. I was a fantastic paralegal, fantastic, like outstanding. I was getting a promotion, but I decided to quit instead of like on the same day that they were giving me the promotion. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, this is not working out for me. They're like, but we're giving you a promotion, right? So it's just
yeah,
like at a very young age, even though I was good at it, I was like 21. I still knew like, okay, like I'm great at it, but this is not like this path is expiring for me. It was definitely part of my purpose at that time. So I think that's number one conception. We think that our life purpose has to be what we're good at. Now, what we're good at is one of the 8 themes, but you don't have to make it your full identity. You don't have to make it everything, because chances are if you kind of go down that route of making what you're good at your full life purpose, you're kind of missing out on those 7 other themes that you could be including in with the thing that you're good at and bundling it all together and seeing what manifests from that. So that's the first misconception. I think I'll just give one more. Another misconception is that it has to be like something that we struggle with. Or it has to be something that someone went through personally. And for some people, yeah, it works out perfectly that if they struggled with blank, that they become an advocate for blank. But not all of us are, that's not our path for all of us. And then for some of us, it can, what we went through, our experience can definitely give us a whole nother level of expertise that we can't get from job training, that we can't get from reading a book, that is just like in our DNA. So our purpose is so individual, and that's my mission, is I'm bringing the individuality back into purpose. So that way we're not just creating this cutter framework and everyone's just trying to fit into these boxes. Like, I'm good at this, so this is my purpose, or I've been through this, so this means I have to like help other people that have been through the same thing. It doesn't always pan out that way. So those are just a few.
I love that. Yeah. And also, I'm not sure if this is one of them, but what about something that you really, really love and are passionate about? Because I'm sure there's some things that one would be very passionate about and love, but yet don't necessarily want to make their life purpose. For example, I've always loved, I remember discovering horticulture and plants and loving planting plants and flowers in the backyard. And there was one time, I think, at one part of my life that I was like, huh, maybe I'll consider being like a landscape architect. But I was like, that just doesn't feel, that didn't really light me up. Like it sounded fun, but I was like, I want to
do more impactful work. Like, not that that's not impactful by any means, but it was like, it's been a passion of mine and I love it. And I have a ton of plants in my room. I'm a plant mom. And at the same time, it's not like, not the thing that I'm like trying to like go for. Is that one of them too? Like,
Yeah,
it's something that you love and are
absolutely.
passionate about?
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. Yes. And again, this is so individual. Some people are really meant to make a career out of their passions. And it is a strong component of their life purpose. And then for others, our passion is meant to help us stay in a flow state. And when we get a chance, I'll give you guys the 8 themes of our life purpose, because passion flow, it's in one of those 8 themes. But that's our passion is something that for some of us, it's something that can keep us going. It can keep us fulfilled. When we're done working on our purpose for the day or for the week, we go play in our passions. And then we come back to our mission. And that really keeps us in this youthful, playful, energized energy without the burnout. And we're still loving life. And we're not just feeling like, oh my God, I'm serving everyone but myself, right? So it really just depends on the person.
And I love how you've been bringing in those eight different things. So if you don't mind sharing, let's get into like the juicy details as we're going to get into that. And then of course the real juice, which I'm excited about, which is the astrology and the human design aspect, because I love bringing that, integrating that into supporting people and understanding themselves better. So what are the 8 different? And also too, real quick, is this based on Japanese, is it called a gashi or I forgot. There's
Oh,
something
the
that's,
ikigai.
yeah, there you go. Ikigai. That's what I was thinking of. Is it based on that at all, or is it its unique form?
Yeah, so great question. Yes, it has been inspired, and these are people are like, well, where did these 8 themes come from? Like, yes, I've created these 8 themes. It does come a little bit from the Icky system. However, the Icky system comes from a more ancient Venn diagram that was based in astrology. So I'm kind of going back to the original astrologer who created a Venn diagram
Okay.
around purpose, because I'm using astrology, and I've added in human design and numerology as well to help us really get the details from someone's charts, because we don't know everything about ourselves. Like, we're still learning day by day. So it's if we don't know ourselves deeply, it can be challenging to understand our life purpose. But that's why we have astrology. It gives us the cheat codes. It gives us some of the answers that we can play with, sit with, get creative with, receive, and go from there. But yes, the Icky system it is a good model for people who want to dabble in that. Except my struggle with the Icky system is that it didn't provide me with any ideas. It has the framework, and it lets you map out, okay, this is what you're good at over here, this is what you can get paid for over here, this is what the world needs over here, and then so on, right? It just kind of gives you a framework, but it doesn't really help you do any self exploration or self discovery on your specific themes. But when we're using astrology and human design, it gives us the answers. So this is a great time. I'll go through the 8 themes, and the 8 themes, I'll mention this, that anyone can use this, even if they don't have their astrology chart. I know some people don't have their birth time. I know some people don't believe in astrology. And guess what? You could still use the 8 themes as your framework. You don't have to get your answers from astrology and human design to benefit from this. You can literally journal or find some other tool that works for you that helps you fill in these 8 themes. So, starting with number one is your superpowers. And this is also going to resemble like how you come off to other people, like your image, your personal persona. It doesn't have to be like who you deeply are all the time. That's another section. But this is like how we come off. And so these gifts and these superpowers really help us create a professional persona, like how people see us and how we can market ourselves, how we can deliver our message. We might know that our message is, something deep. I don't know. I'll just growing apple trees. If growing apple trees is like your message, right? Your superpower on how to
Yeah.
deliver that is going to give you information on how to show up,
Mhm.
how to be the brand of growing apple trees, etc.
Yeah.
So that's number one, is your superpowers. And again, we can get all this information from astrology, or you can just jot down your superpowers and really sit with it. And then as you flow through the rest of the 8 steps, you'll be able to compartmentalize everything. Number 2 is your money formula. Misconception, people think like, or maybe it's a limiting belief that most of us grow up with. It's like we have a passion or we think of a purpose. And then someone tells us, like, you can't get paid for that. You can't make a living off of that. You can't be successful with that. I'm here to say, yes, you can with strategy. And if you follow your money formula using your astrology and human design, there's a lot of things in astrology that tell us where is someone's luckiest part in their chart. What do they need to do to create all these blessings and like all this extra resources? So when we put a couple of those placements together, almost like in a formula type thing, we get a clear picture of what someone's money formula is. And that way they can see if they're in alignment. Quick example, one little thing in my money formula is that I need to be seen all of the time. And at one point, I think I was going through this weird phase where I was going to create one of those Instagram accounts where it's like faceless content,
Yeah.
seems so cool. But I knew in my astrology that that's not my strategy because people need to see my face. My second house is in Leo, and that's one of the pieces in the money formula. And so I have to be expressive. I have to shine bright, speaking all the time, public speaking, whatever it is. So our money formula is really important. And oftentimes that's the missing piece. People might know what they're good at. They might know what their superpowers are. We were talking about passion earlier. They might know what their passion is, but they may not know how to make it profitable. They may not know how to support their mission, their business. If they want to travel around the world volunteering for kids, like they may not know how to make that monetarily sustainable until we get to the money formula. So that's why the number 2 is so important. And before I go into number 3 or number 4, I'll see if you have any thoughts or questions on 1 or 2.
Yes, I love that. I'm taking notes over here, so that's why I'm like looking down. Superpowers, what's coming to mind with like superpowers or like how you come off? I'm guessing, I could be wrong. Is this like based on or could be based on like your rising sign? Is that like how
Yes,
people see
she
you?
gets
Okay.
that. That's one piece. Yeah, there's
Okay.
it's your rising sign. It's also your conscious sun in your human design chart and
Okay.
your conscious earth placement in your human design chart. So when we put all 3 of those together, yes, we get your superpowers. And your rising
Okay.
sign, for anyone who may not know, you do need to know your birth time, but it's your first house in your chart. It's how you come off to the world, and
Right.
it's also what you're good at, even though most people don't know their rising signs, but it is traits that you just know, like, oh yeah, I'm great at being funny. That's probably a Gemini person or a Sagittarius person. Like humor is like something that
Yeah.
they're really good at, right? So it
Hmm.
always ties in, but I love how you were able to guess that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And then the money formula, that sounds so amazing. Finding that out to help support you in your journey. Feel like from my own personal experience, and you said this so clearly, when you can be told, especially as like a younger person as a creative, because I've always had a creative spark to me. And I remember wanting to say, like, oh, I want to do in college. I remember saying something to the effect of like, I would love to do arts or theater or do painting and things. And I remember my mom really deterring me from that. She was like, "Oh, those are fun things to do on the side, but like that's just not like where you would make money." And even as a teacher, she was very resistant to me if I said like, "Oh, I would love to teach someday," right? My teaching role is and now become like coaching, but it was just this perception that she had. It was like you can't make sustainable money off that. And now we know like creatives can make massive amounts of money. And I love that. I love that you were saying it's the luckiest part of your chart. So that's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now we're entering a creator economy. Like our economy is, it's the creators and
Pluto
people
and
create
Aquarius.
projects and art and content and like all these things that are that's just where we're going. So interesting thought there. I love that share. Thank you. But yeah, in your money formula, this one, just to comment, it doesn't really include your Jupiter because that belongs somewhere else. Um, and it's 8 things. So I can't go through all of those 8 that make up the money formula, but one of them is called your part of fortune, which a lot of people don't really know about in astrology if they're not like working in astrology, but it's your part of fortune. It is your second house. And this is a little advanced. So just tune out, go la, 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 if this is too advanced for you. But for someone else who might be learning astrology right now, if you already know, when you look at your second house ruler to see where it's at in your chart, that gives us a lot more information. So we really do come up with this full picture on like, whoa, how do you really hone in on opportunity? Because I believe that there's unlimited resources for all of us. It's just the information has been hidden from us by whatever, whoever, maybe no one. It's just been hidden on how to do it. So that's why we've just been in this limited box, but it's all there once we tap into it.
Ooh, fascinating. My Chiron is in my Taurus in my second house.
Okay.
That's a lot for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone that's listening or watching and probably like who is into astrology might understand that, but to me I giggle because I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's go on to our next couple ones.
Yeah. So number 3 is how you change the world. How you change the world. And this is like your impact almost to strangers. So we have more, a different impact. Like our superpowers, number 1 can be that's what we demonstrate maybe to our one-on-one clients or like to anyone who's in our immediate circle. But number 3, we really want to understand like you came here, you meaning everyone who's listening to this, you came here to leave the world differently than how you found it. And what gifts do you directly specifically have for the world that only you can provide? Just because you're a coach and that just because there's a million coaches doesn't mean that you're not needed as a coach, because all those other million coaches are not coaching the way that you can. I'm just using coaching as a example because people get discouraged because the industry is so big right now, and they don't understand. I think the industry is big because the demand is increasing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes,
So we have to
I
increase
agree.
the supply with quality. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
everybody should be a coach, but some of us, and I have a mastermind, so that's the thing I hear. They're like, Vanessa, I want to do coaching, but there's like a million coaches. I'm like, but you are here to bring something very specific. Like you're here to change the world in your unique way. So let's hone in on what that is. So, and just ignore everyone else. Just hone in on what that is. And one aspect in how you change the world, there's 3 total things in this formula, but one of them is your sun sign in astrology. And we're all familiar with our sun sign.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us are just like, oh, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Virgo, I'm a Sagittarius. But when you know the house that your sun sign is in, now you know where in your life you're creating more impact. Do you know what house your sun sign is in?
So my sun sign is in Aries and I'm in the 12th house.
So behind the scenes or helping people with recovery, retreats, plant medicine. If you wanted to be a shaman, you could be a shaman working in
I love
hospitals,
it.
helping people recover from addictions, helping people with repressed memories. And you do like a lot of manifestation work, and
Yeah,
that's hidden energy, like
perfect.
hidden
Yeah.
realm stuff. So like it's perfect.
Yeah.
And yes, manifestation is probably your thing. And the more that you know about the 12th house, you could really expand manifestation into the other areas of the 12th house as well. And that's where that's what the world needs from you. So like the world needs Sarita to help them with all the taboo hidden stuff of reality.
I love it. I love that deep stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And then number 4 is your flow state. And this is where your passion comes in. This is where your emotional connection to your work. And then also for those of us who are in service-based businesses, you'll find this is how you attract your ideal clients, by being in your flow state. And so there's a couple of different aspects here that we include. And the flow state, when we get these answers from the astrology and human design, once we spell it out for the person, I give them the answers, right? And they sit with it and they're like, this makes so much sense. Like, and that's where they're able to tie in their passions with everything else previously, the money part, how they change the world, all the things. And sometimes these things overlap, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're literally meant to just all collaborate together.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, with flow state, like I hear that sometimes I get like, oh, I understand it more now, but when I was like learning about flow state, when I was not in flow, it was so hard for me to wrap my mind around that. Do you
Mm,
mind expanding what that is just a little bit more? Because I hear that and it's a word that we use in the entrepreneurial world quite often, like, oh, I'm in a flow state, and it has different meanings to different people, of course. For you, I know you were just talking about that, just a little passion to work. So maybe, because not everybody that listens is an entrepreneur, so maybe some people that are working in like more service-based jobs and things like
yeah.
that. What does like a flow state actually like feel like? What is the essence of that?
It is passion, like something that they could find passion in. The effect of the flow state is it can become so natural and almost automatic. Like we can lose track of time when we're doing the thing. Or it's something that fills up our
Mhm.
cup. And the
Yeah.
gift of the flow state is that it keeps us from being in burnout, or prevents us from being in burnout in the first place, but it also keeps us energized and motivated. Because if we're not motivated to do something, even if you're working at your corporate job, yes, you're motivated because you signed up for the role, you have the responsibility, you get a salary, and like all this other great stuff. The reason why you hear some people say, they say the H word, I hate my job. It doesn't have to be their purpose, and you see a lot of people in jobs that are corporate jobs that are not their purpose, but they seem to be happy, right? They seem to be pretty good. Why? It's a small group of people. I think it's like 18%, by the way.
My goodness. Wow.
And the rest of everyone in corporate America is like they hate their job. But those people they're able to find a flow state. They know that they can get into a passion. Maybe it's accounting, and their passion is the numbers. They may not like the company, they may not like their coworker Bob, they may not like their desk or like anything else that happens there. But they know when they get into those numbers and they just power away and they put on their Spotify playlist, they are in a flow state. For me, one of my flow states is information. It makes sense why I'm into astrology and human design, because I love, like, it's not working for me. Like on the weekend, I'm listening to audiobooks on astrology and taking naps. I'm doing that all day long. Nap astrology book, nap astrology book. To me, and it's just like I get into this flow, and when I'm doing my work, all that information just comes out, and people are like, "Whoa, you must have had to work really hard." And I'm like, didn't seem like hard work, it's just because that's the information that I really get into and I receive, and I just kind of let it like merge with my intuition. That's just how I get into a flow state. So when you understand what that is, it does look a little bit different. My most recent client, for them, it wasn't necessarily an actual thing. Their instruction from their astrology chart was that they just need to go take frequent vacations, and that will keep them in a flow state, right? Corporate
Yeah.
job, someone who's working in the financing industry, doing really well, high profile clients, high demanding job, and they felt guilty going to take vacations outside of like the holiday time. And I'm like, look, this is how you maintain a flow state so that you come back to your stuff, your work, like renewed. Yeah, I believe that that's already making a difference for them. So it's going to look different for everyone. They may not be passionate about information like me, or numbers like the accountant example, but it will be a tool that you can use to really keep your energy high and keep your quality of work well.
I love that. Thank you so much for explaining that. And it helps me understand that better. And I'm kind of reflecting back just to add to that, and then we'll move on to the rest. But when I was working in a corporate job, I was working insurance. It was very dull, wasn't very exciting. And I made it more in the way that I actually liked it by being really organized, because I like being organized. And then also being able to talk to people to get help, and then delegate certain tasks and things that I couldn't do myself. Definitely being in contact and communication with like different people, and making sure everybody was like on the same page. So I brought my own sense of flow by bringing those qualities that I normally would in like different entities of my life into that particular job. So it made it more bearable at the time. So
I love
I never
that.
think about that as flow, but that's just an awesome example as well for somebody that's listening to be like, okay, like there are some ways in which I can incorporate this into a more mundane type of work that isn't necessarily lighting me up like long term.
Yeah, perfect example. That organization, like that gave you enjoyment and pleasure, of the task that you were doing. That was perfect example.
Okay, moving on, we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So
Number I think I'm sorry, we're at number 5. The number 5
oh,
is
5. Okay.
taking action with aligned passion. So this is another passion one, but it's also, and this is going to include from the astrology chart, your Mars and your moon sign, and a few other things from your human design as well. And because it's so important for us to understand what is the best way for me to take action. And I think a lot of people get caught up in, this is where general coaching, I know general coaching is amazing and it has helped so many people, but after a certain point you want to get personalized guidance and coaching, because how you need to take aligned action for yourself is different from someone else. And sometimes people are taking action that's not working with their energy and people aren't receiving it. You hear it all the time, like, wow, I followed this formula and so got those results and I didn't. And so it's because there's something in your energy. You just have to change how you're taking action so that's working with your energy.
I love that. Yeah, and Mars and Moon. Cool. I didn't really think about those two together. I have very I have very opposite Mars and Moon. So my Moon's in Pisces, and that's in the 11th house, and then my Mars in Leo, which is in the 5th house. To me, because you got the water and fire dynamic going together, I think that's like very interesting. Like it's a kind of been back and forth for me, this whole dynamic that I have, but I really love the Mars sign in general because it is like Aries ruler. So it's like very like action based sign. I'm Aries sun and Aries rising. So very familiar with Mars, Mars energy. But I love that. I love the
And it
combination of the
makes
two. That's unique.
I have to comment on your chart a little bit. It makes sense that you're doing podcasting because Leo is about communication, expression, public speaking. With your Mars being in that 5th house, taking like these types of conversations help you take action on other parts of your business or other parts of your passions, probably. And then you said your moon is in the 11th house in Pisces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and the 11th house is online platforms and collaborating with people,
Yeah.
partners, friends. So your podcast is all that's the only thing I really know well about you right now.
Yeah.
But that
Yeah.
just makes sense why podcasting is a part of your path. And podcasting probably is your number 5. It probably is how you take aligned action with passion, and it could probably show up in another one of those other things too. It could show up in the money section for you too. It could show up in multiple times, but it makes sense because it's already connected to your Mars and your moon, and that's not even the full formula, right? I just gave you like a
Yeah.
taste. Yeah.
So cool. So cool. Yeah. My podcast is my baby. So it does make total sense. That's so amazing. Okay. So that was number 5. So number 6.
Number 6 is your message and your mission. This is the most important one because chances are this one will be the most outward output, or like your most outward thing, for lack of a better word, that people will see and that they're going to receive. They may not see much of the back, like all the other sections, as much as this one. So really it's, what message are you here to deliver? And this is an easy one. If anyone is familiar with human design and you already have your human design chart saved in your phone, you can literally just go look at your conscious Mercury, and that's going to give you one piece of this. And then you can also look at your conscious north node in your human design chart. That's going to give you the second piece of the formula. And then you'll add in your north node from your astrology chart. It gets a little complicated there because we got to do a deeper process when we look at the north node in your astrology chart and merge it with the other two things. But again, to simplify it, start with your Mercury in your human design, see what gate is there, and that is your message. If your gate is 38 in your conscious Mercury, you are here. Your message is you need to advocate for something. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be clean air, clean oceans, I don't know, free healthcare, we could find, if someone is confused on what it is, we can find out something else, but at least we know the energy. They need to be advocating when other people can't fight for what they want and need. Someone with a gate 38 would. Or another example is gate 30 is about like desires. Like you're someone, you need to help people. Like your message needs to help people figure out what their desires are. And I think that's a hard job because we all have mistaken motivations based on how we were
Mm-hmm.
raised and societal things, and a lot of people don't know what they really desire. But someone with the gate 30 there, that's your message. Find a way to deliver your message so people can start to unpack their desires. Those are just two little examples.
Oh, I love that. I'm not familiar with conscious Mercury or the conscious North Node in human design. I'm very with human design, I'm pretty 10, maybe like 102. I'm a little past 101, so I'm like 102 level. So haven't dove really deep into like the different they're called channels, right? The different
Gates. Mm-hmm.
gates. There you go, gates and things. Like I'm learning just a little bit here and there with my own chart. That's new information to me. So I'm excited to check that out. My conscious Mercury and conscious North Node. I know what my North Node is in astrology. I just don't know what the conscious North Node or the Mercury and the human design. So I'm excited to check that out. That's awesome.
And then number 7 is your higher self. This is who you are when you step out of your comfort zone. And this is where the Jupiter would fall into place. That's just one. And there's 8 different aspects to this particular formula. But this one it is growth driven. It's who you become when you decide to expand yourself. And by the way, you are already that person. You just haven't accessed it. So you already have everything. It's just your attention has been focused on other things. So you're not creating someone that you're not. You're not trying to be a fake version of yourself. You're really just seeing on paper like qualities of an expanded version of yourself, and then you get to agree or disagree if you actually want to start embodying it. And it's really cool to see it on paper. Even if you're not there yet, you don't have to worry about getting there tomorrow. It's just important to know what's possible, your highest potential.
That's so cool to think about that. I'm just kind of reflecting on the last month that I've had where I was stepping outside my comfort zone, and I call it my 30-day experiment. When I went to the East Coast, didn't have a plane ticket back, and was just kind of constructing and building, like staying at places and figuring out like being out there in the DC area, and it was outside my comfort zone. Like, who did I become? So that's such a great example of like, who are you in those situations and experiences that aren't maybe necessarily like the everyday like routine that you're doing, I'm guessing. So it's like pushing you outside of your comfort zone, but also like outside of like who you are normally like exposing yourself as. And sometimes with
Yeah.
experiences that are different, we become this like, I'm just kind of thinking of like books and movies and things, like people that have had these extreme experiences when they go travel, and then they're just like, oh my god, I'm this wild woman, I never knew that I was this way, and then they're super like conformed and restricted like back at home with their family or child, and then they become like really just this more fun free person, right? So I kind of imagine that for somebody when we're talking about like the higher self, stepping outside of who you thought you really are to expand yourself into like that next version, or I shouldn't even say that, but like the person that you said this perfectly, but like who you're meant to be.
Yeah, who you were meant to be. And the comfort zones help us do that. There's a time and a place for the comfort zones, and there's a time and place for the expansion. So it all works together.
Yeah.
And for this, I'll just give an example. For this formula, when we, in the astrology chart, looking at the fourth house, in most instances, not all the time, it just depends on what's going on in the fourth house, what aspects and planets and all the things. But most of the time, if someone is undermining their own success, or if they're not growing, chances are they might overstaying their welcome in their fourth house, especially if they have like a stellium there. They have a lot of fourth house activity. For example, for me, I have a lot of fourth house activity, and it's in Scorpio, so it just makes me a really private person. My comfort zone is being overly private, right? and I'll catch myself like sometimes I'm enjoying something and I don't want to post it on social media. I'm just like, but this is like mine, and for
Yeah.
sure, for everyone else that's great, but in mine, my chart is like stop, like put yourself out in the public. Show I'm supposed to be showing my health routines, my daily routines for probably for inspiration, for great causes, right? Not to be like vanity, not for everyone to look at me, but I can get so comfortable in just being in my office at home, not leaving all day long, not going to the networking, right? Like
Yeah.
not going to past my partying stage. I haven't partied in years, but even just going to socialize, like healthy socializing. Sometimes I won't even do that if I'm too stuck in my fourth house. And that's how it can undercut our success. So we look at some of the fourth house themes, especially some of the shadow ones, especially some of the ones that we need to outgrow a little bit and step more into our 10th house energy. That's just one of the things that we would look at for the higher self. Yeah.
Wait, we have two more, correct?
One more. One
Oh,
more.
one more.
Yeah.
One more.
Number 8. Number 8 is your life lessons. This is the hardest. This is the hardest one for people. And I take people through this process, right? It's a very, very deep process. And in the beginning we start off on a high note, and at the end where they're like, ah, you know, like my life lessons. Wait, what happened to my superpowers? What happened to my mission and my message? But this is where we kind of just look at reality. And this section can feel a little bit like shadow work, and it will expose the things that maybe your friends don't know about you. Maybe your family doesn't know about you. Maybe you don't know about you, or maybe you do know, but you really need to bring more awareness and have intention to navigate these things. Oh yeah, so there's a lot of Pluto energy that we're looking at here from your astrology and even your human design. And there's also some other things like, again, this is what's holding you back. This is what needs to be unlocked. What do you finally need to work through? And don't think that this is an immediate thing, like you have to work through this thing in the next week. This is like it could be a yearly thing. Like you can give yourself time and grace as long as you are aware that whatever is in this section, if you ignore it and suppress it and push it down, you may not be able to actually implement all the other sections that we just went through, because these are the things that are holding you back. These are the shadows that you got to integrate and work with.
The awareness level. Wow. Vanessa, this is like so juicy information. I love all these. I was taking copious notes as you were sharing all this because it's new to me. And I understand it from an astrology perspective for the most part. And then human design, I'm excited to dive in a little bit deeper. For you as a coach, for you that's bringing this amazing process and framework to your clients and the people that you support, for you personally, is there any particular step or part that is like your favorite to? I know they all are very integrated and support each other, but is there one that you personally just absolutely are like so passionate and love support people with in particular?
Okay. This is a great question. Are you asking about one of the steps or anything in coaching?
The steps specifically. Yeah.
I like the action section, that taking action with passion, because Mars and the moon and some of the other things that the placements that we go through that are involved in this formula, it really helps people learn a lot about who they are and like what, why they've always done this, why do they always do this other action, or why do they lose their temper. Mars is about aggression, and it can be about anger, and it could also be about sexual attraction. There's so much in Mars. And for a business, it's how do you need to get your business moving? How do you keep your momentum? How do you keep your business sustainable? In our purpose, it's okay, what actions do you take on a general scale, not necessarily business oriented, but like where in your life do you need to be more active or intentional so that your purpose can find you, so to speak. I don't think it needs to find you, but so your purpose, so you could receive it. There we go. That's a better language. So that you could actually start to receive pieces of your purpose when you really dive into your Mars. And then with your moon, our moon is our emotions. It's also related to money. It's also related to receptivity. People don't really know that much. That's more ancient astrology, but it is our emotions, and what drives us. And so like those are the Mars and the moon and everything else in that section 5, how we take aligned action. it really starts to ignite people. Like I see a different light in someone's eyes when we're going through this in the program. And also it solves, I think, one of the biggest issues that most of us face, and it's inaction. Maybe due to doubt, maybe because of uncertainty, or sometimes for me, I was taking a lot of scattered action, like waking up, like trying to do this over here, do this over here, like basically like throwing spaghetti at a wall to like see what would stick, right? Like a lot of scattered energy, like 4 or 5 years ago for me. But when we hone in on learning about ourselves with this section, it reduces either the inaction or the scattered action. And then we just feel so much more at peace with ourselves.
When people come to me when it comes to their manifestation and intentional manifesting and trusting themselves and trusting the process and things, and I feel like this is a human problem. And we were talking about this before. You were saying like how there's like it's a reflection of why so many people are into doing coaching is because there's such a demand for it. I see that is very prevalent in a lot of different areas in the human experience. Like I think of like the diet industry, for instance, where there's a plethora of information, so much information out there, and there's a demand for it. People are interested in it. People desire it, right? They want it. But the missing piece, what you're just saying, is the inaction, is the implementation, is the part that actually will get them to their desired results. And I find that within people coming to me for manifestation support, where it's like they know what they want for the most part. Sometimes we need to dig a little deeper to get like figure out the clarity in that. Of course, rewiring some of the neural pathways and doing the somatic work and things, but it's also the action steps and like the implementation and actually taking the knowledge and integrating it into your life and making it, making things happen. So I agree that that's like a huge portion of where there's a lot of missing piece. Like there's a disconnect from like the information and the action part.
Yeah.
So fully agree.
It's so true. It's just something we all deal with, and when we recognize that that's something to navigate, then we can look for solutions. Yes.
Vanessa, this has been awesome. All this information. I'm sure people are like writing down, taking notes, just like as I was doing. What would you say for somebody that's just been thrown all this information and just like, okay, like I'm excited. I want to make some moves in my life. What are some ways if someone's feeling really stuck, right? And they've just been thrown all this information, right? Now they're like, okay, let's take action on it. What are just a couple of ways in which if they're feeling a little stuck and this information has been very supportive in them for them, like what are some next steps that they can do, including working with you, of course. You can share like programs and things that you have and offerings that you have to support them in that too.
My number one tip is to get out of survival mode. Whether you are in survival mode emotionally, or that's a real thing, or physically, that's a real thing, of course, or financially, or whatever it is, try to get out of that energy of survival. Like, oh, I just have to make it through this day, or I just have to pay the bills, or I just have to make it through dinner without argument, or like whatever the thing is, see, like, because when you get out of survival mode, then there's room for thrival. Then we can focus on purpose. Then you can receive your purpose. But again, if you're in that survival mode, that's the number one enemy. That's the number one enemy. And my spirit guides told me that. They were like, hey, the number one detour that most people are facing with their purpose is that they don't have time to, they think that they don't have time to focus on their purpose. They don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the focus, they don't have the emotional space for it, or whatever. So try to get out of, that's my number one tip. Try to get out of survival mode, and try not to be in denial. If you're in survival mode, just be like, yeah, it is what it is. I don't have to be here much longer. I'm gonna ask the universe for my next step, right? Like, like literally ask, like, God, universe, what do I need to do to get out of emotionally surviving, physically, financially, whatever it is. So that's number one. And then number two is everyone can download the the link, there's this life purpose flow chart, and it's a chart. It has these 8 steps in a blank sheet. So you can download this, and Sarita will have the link. You could just download it. And again, you don't have to dive into astrology or human design. You can just print that sheet out, the blank one, put your name on it. It's nice and pretty, and just start brainstorming, filling in each section with what you already know about yourself. It doesn't have to be accurate. You're just starting the process. You're just creating the intention. And then in the middle of the circle, you can write out what you think your life purpose is right now. And so you could print out a couple copies and just do that a couple times a year. And I think you're going to come up with some amazing ideas. That's even without the human design. And then of course you can work with me. I have a free 15-minute, that link will be here too. And I believe in small baby steps. This work that I do is so extensive. So I try to really just give the baby steps. So you can sign up for the free 15-minute. It's a great way to connect with me, and sign up for that if you're open to actually getting one step from your astrology and human design. So if you know your info, we could hop on that call and you'll get one thing that you could do moving forward.
Love that. Yes. And we'll have those links in the show notes below. And where can people find you, Vanessa? What platforms are you on, and what are your handles?
Yeah, the best way is to go to my website, sacredsoulenergetics.com, and then you could find my podcast and my handles and everything from there.
Thank you so much for all this like wisdom. And I know you've poured so much of your energy and love into creating that 8-step framework, the eight steps. Like I absolutely love that. And it's so beautiful how they're so integrated, and the fact that you've drawn from astrology and human design to really understand and support the people that you work with. I truly believe that is the way of the future. Just like you were saying, like we're in the creative energy now. Pluto's in Aquarius. Like things are just really moving into this more individualistic, like what gifts are you really bringing to society? People are going to need to, I'm in the perception of it's like you either get on board or kind of get left behind at this point, with everything that's just transitioning and changing even within the last couple of years. So I love this, and this is such a way in which people can really truly tap into their authenticity and understand themselves, because I truly believe in order to provide gifts to the outside and to society, like one of the biggest parts of that is to actually understand who you are as a person, and becoming the most authentic version of yourself is by actually learning more about who you are and what you bring to the table.
Well said.
Thank you. Again, Vanessa, thank you so much. We'll have all of our information in the show notes. It's been such a pleasure. And again, thank you for being here. I'm back to here with Sarita, the New Manifesting Paradigm podcast. We will see you next time. And as always, keep being the amazing you that you are. Take care. Bye.
Hey, love. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you adored what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review on the platform you are listening to this episode on. By doing this, you are helping my mission to impact other women with their healing journeys. If you aren't already following me on social media, make sure to connect with me at Sarita Wellness to get your weekly dose of inspiration. I can't wait to be with you in the next episode, but in the meantime, keep being the amazing you that you are.